Well, hello and welcome back to All My Art and Soul. This is a mixed media abstract series from start to finish, part two. And if you've just joined or just found the channel and are starting here, part one will be in the upper right hand corner as a card. And what you're seeing now is where we left off in part one. So these are, you can have any heavier paper, watercolor, even cardstock, inexpensive materials while you're exploring and starting out. Of course, I love working in threes, and I'm working on, it's sort of like a printing paper. It's thick, it has a really nice neutral. I would like to find some more paper that's neutral and not put gesso on it. But I gessoed them, textured them, started with a nickel azo for a sort of a wash or a very thin coat, and then just started with marks, layers of marks, layers of paint, thin layers, and then collage. So now there were several choices. I could have went light, and now I'm thinking, I think I'd like to try that. I don't know with this set of three, but in the future, definitely. Now, I began a series like this in the summer, and I sold a couple of pieces. They're 8x8 on cradle, on wooden panel, and started off with very wavy lines like you see, sharp lines, thin, thick, and all of these different layers. And then went with collage that practically, like in sections of 3 and 5, all horizontal. So I tend to really like that. So I'm just trying to try something different this time. And as you can see, I'm not sure about the dark. I'm just putting it on anyway because I know that I can always cover it up. And if you stay to the, it won't be in this one, but I'm working ahead, of course, and I'm planning on leaving the dark on the bottom, but going light at the top. It just lightens it up. And having the darker values at the bottom gives it weight. But you don't necessarily have to do that. Composition is really a whole separate thing on its own. And it takes time. But right now, I'm just going with I'm learning composition as I go. I'm calling it natural composition. It just evolves on its own. Keeping balance in mind, sorry, and responding with my intuitive process. And then when I'm done, I take a look at it, see what works, see what didn't work, and what I might want to do in the next series of layers. And these are called phases. So this is sort of phase 2, and I know, and you might know as well, when you build up enough layers, then I always say, okay, time to let it rest. Sort of, it tells me. And as you can see, that little piece, that was raw umber, or yes, that was raw umber with string and my wedge, the tooth wedge, catalyst wedge on the jelly plate. And it's pretty, I think it's a transparent piece. It might be on tracing paper. So then seeing, okay, I didn't want to cover it with collage. And my default is just collage, collage, collage. But I really want this time for this next series, that is the purpose for this exploration of many smaller pieces leading up to them, is use more paint with a little collage. More, just, I don't know why, just it's the feeling that I think it needs. So that's what we're doing. and doing some lifting there, and that's just newsprint paper, trying to go in with some other shapes. Oh, there's symmetry there. And since it's 3, I'm thinking, okay, I want a little bit of that color in each piece, but a little differently. Ultimately, I would prefer to have one whole piece of watercolor paper, and of course I'd end up with 4, or maybe just a long strip, and then slice it. So I'm sort of going backwards here in that layering where I would have in the future, and this is all just, trial and error, have gone a little farther with my layers, ended up with this layer of this very rich, earthy red, let it dry, and then cut my 8x8s. I think things would have happened more unexpectedly and maybe more interestingly that way. So I'm going to keep that in mind. And for some reason, I just really like that. Looking at it now, I'm not sure. That's why I keep putting it there and throwing it down. I don't know. Now, it's better than the black, but then some parchment, that lovely light neutral that I use, may have worked better. So I know I want to use it, but I think the ratio needs to be, yes, that's better. See, I'm not sure about those lines down there. I don't really know if I like them a lot, so I don't mind covering them up. So the goal here, or my intention, I always like using that, because sometimes I start with a clear goal, and I still have that, but I really want to balance this process, because in letting it take me on a journey in a way, because I'm responding and not over planning, because work that's over, I can't do it. That's, to me, it reminds me of, a work really looks to me that way, and that's not what I'm looking for. I want things to happen and then learn from them in those different combinations. And then, of course, that stays in your experiences, and then you can apply them, not exactly the same, in next layering. So I know in the background I'm thinking of shape more, and it's definitely showing up, rather just in line, swirly areas, thicker areas, skinnier areas. And I'm trying not to maintain these just horizontally. My next series of 3 that I want to work on, though, I think I want to work not in squares, but more in a rectangle. Because if I want to maintain those horizontal areas, it'll be really interesting. You just have more surface to work with. Working in 5s or 7s or 3s. So that piece, the white piece on the 8x8 on the right, is, deli paper with Posco marker white on it. And I'm really liking that effect. I thought it might turn out more transparent, but that's okay. So I could try that effect as well on a more transparent piece of paper. And I was cleaning out, oh my goodness, I don't know about you, but I really don't need any more collage paper for now, unless there's something really specific, of course, that you're looking for: color palette, lines, texture, patterns. And I just couldn't go forward with this series until I cleaned and my little basket that is on the left here, just out of camera, which was supposed to be a small selection for the collages, for the mixed media that I'm working on now, turned into a giant pile. And so the more I dig, the more mess, it's falling everywhere. Oh, so it was not very efficient. And this is your natural handcrafted paper. I like the darkness, but it's just, I don't know. It's not doing anything for me. So I'll go through this phase, and I like that all the papers are right there above, and you can see them as well. So you can see all the different things I'm making. So this is tissue paper, and I'm going to go horizontally across, I believe, with it, because I see some really nice lines that could show nicely from underneath. That is newsprint paper that's faded that I just scribbled on, and which is absolutely really fascinating. So I really don't have any of that left, so I'm going to do that. That is your water-soluble graphite on newsprint paper, and then just some quick filling in of different shapes. And how I did that collage is I worked on a great big, I think 18 by 24 or whatever piece of newsprint. You buy it in big pads in art stores, for sketching and everything. Then I did a little bit of whatever I felt like in each area, and then knew I would tear out what I wanted. So that works too. So you don't have sheets and sheets of collage where you only need little pieces. So that's interesting there. I don't know if I like that now, but whatever. There's hindsight is wonderful, right? And what I decided is, like I said, sometimes I'll go too much black, and then I'll turn it like I am now, seeing where the weight might be, and I might end up with a whole bunch of a vertical section at the bottom, and then go totally horizontal on the top. That's looking interesting. Okay, so this paper is very thin, as you've seen me use it before. And I like the tearing, but now I'm really liking, if I want a straight but not a scissor cut edge, a crisp edge, tearing your collages with a ruler, a metal ruler. Well, anything with a nice crisp edge that's flexible. And I'm really liking that approach. It just looks more natural. And overlaying my pieces so they're really interweaving and they're connecting more. So here's this where it really looks a lot like a landscape to me, and I don't like that. It's too representative, so if anything gets too representational, then I take it back closer to abstraction if I can. But that's in the back of my mind. So this is the section here that next ended up just too dark. I like how it doesn't go across the whole top. And then I extend that right-hand side all the way down with a piece of collage. I think I'm going to paint it with the neutral. You can use natural, I think, what is that? Any kind of beige or off-white kind of color really looks nice. And I like it next to a crisp white, or, just really playing with the subtle values. So here comes some more black. I really went wild with the black this time, didn't I? Holy smokes. And that's okay, who knows what I was feeling that day or how you're feeling, and I don't know about that circle there. I might make it smaller, I might cover it up. So that's what I decided to do. Leave it still slightly there with the black. So trust me, these look really cool. And next I'm going to take them back to go lighter. So you can go forwards, you can come back to your middle, well, this isn't really I guess it's early middle stage. That's what I would call it. And if it turns out you just don't like it, you can take your painting back, all the way back. But never cover everything up. That's what I used to do. I used to go right back, cover the whole thing up with gesso, and maybe sometimes you need to, or half of it, or just leave a really thin layer of gesso in some areas and go really opaque in others, and then just start again. So nothing's ever a waste. All right, so here's my color shaper, and I'm liking that rich tone, so I'm just going to extend it. And I'm using the cloth a lot, I think because I really I've been thinking about this atmospheric, which only small sections in here are atmospheric, and I know that. But I have to get there in my way. It's hard to explain, but I go and see other work, and I know that's the effect I'm looking for, but how many layers does it take to get there? Everybody's journey is different. So I want to talk about if you do something that you really don't like this. All right, did I turf these in the garbage? No. So as you can see, this is the new fluid paint from Liquitex. So now, never be afraid to go ugly or whatever this is. And I just went, okay, it's not even dripping properly. So I am adding more water, and then keeping in mind this is paper, of course, spraying on it, knowing that there's some medium, clear gloss medium protecting it. But then it's just, so the issue was this type of layer, be it its value, shape, texture, just wasn't cutting it. So, and before I wouldn't even move forward. So now it's just so good to just try it anyway. And rather than messing around with it, and I forget exactly what I do if I lift it or use my brayer or whatever. So I'm going over to this one and making some more. So the idea of just calming down that area and covering up some of those lines is sort of cool. But the drips, which I love, wow, those splashed really cool on an angle. Even though they're interesting, they're not working. It looks like snow or something, and now it's so ridiculous. I have to get it out of there before so that made it flatter. So now you have some paint, and now I'm just going to press anywhere on here and in and around, and now just use it as a white value. So I know some of you are going, oh, what is she doing? She's ruining it. Well, when you're in the midst of your process, that's just how it goes sometimes. And you just, and what if it turned out really cool? That's how you discover new things. but you need to discover them for sure. It's like I used to refer everything to Wizard of Oz. You know, yeah, you could have gone home anytime, but, you know, you have to know. Anyway, so I thought, okay, let's just use that value. And I'm liking the value, how it's echoing between the three pieces. And it's breaking away from just the horizontal feeling. So it's definitely covering up some things. I really wasn't attached to any of that stuff yet. Now, the one in the middle, I could have even carried on that white all the way to the edge, and of course, got rid of those lines or marks that are sticking out. And, but you know what? It's good to know for next time. So what you need to remember here, or what I was remembering, is I'm not really going to worry about it, because I know if I have white next to, well, any lighter value, I can come in later and use a stain or an ink and echo some of that color, and I know it'll turn out differently, and it'll be really, really cool. So yes, I finally realized to erase that extra messy white area away, just so you can have some smoothness in there, or a solid shape. And let's see, what do I do next? So it definitely needs to dry. And I think I'm going to come in with, oh, I know what I come in with. Maybe some glazing. So you could use gesso as well. And as you know, gesso is very chalky, very absorbent, but very opaque. So if you use white paint, and so, oh, okay, that's what I was thinking. So instead, now I'm going to come in with some high contrast, a layer of stenciling, because I realized there's really not a layer of stenciling on these yet. So this is a Stencil Girl stencil, and of course it has the opposite sort of, you know, there's positive and negative, and of course I choose black. So why I chose black, who knows? I was trying to, which really is interesting when you see this, maybe a yellow or even a blue. And you can see that there's no blue in here yet. There's red, there's orange, and then I decide, okay, let's bring in the third, primary color. So we can echo that in a different way. So I love this. So it's so great too when you're working with a nice fresh sponge and you get really nice crisp stenciling going on. Okay. So I don't know about those shapes, but I know I like that effect. Next time I might choose a different type of stencil, and here I'm going to go with the opposite. Cool. Okay. I decided to leave them horizontal, of course. And so now on these, we have, at least 5 or 6 layers. So we have the gesso, the lines and marks. We've got the nickel azo sort of glazing. Then we have some Posco marker lines over top. Then we have some paint. Then we have some collage. And now we have some stenciling. So I'm also learning not to really get committed to anything until I have at least 5 or so layers on my work, until things start happening. Now, that was my transparent white So it's just really wishy-washy. I'm not really liking it, but as you can see, I'm going ahead anyway. I think some ochre would have looked better now that only in hindsight, of course. So that turned out really blobby and messy, and oh well. So when we're stenciling, we got to be careful. And what is your favorite stenciling tool or sponge? I went to the dollar store and I found some of those kids, with the great big knobby handles in primary colors. And there's a smooth sponge, a texture tool, and 2 different kinds of sponges. And those are amazing. And why I didn't use those here, I don't know. I saw the same set again in another dollar store, so I'm going to pick those up. They are cool. And I might even use them in our class, because we're doing mixed media next. Okay. So they're blowing all around, got that hair dryer going. Now, finally, so seeing that mess, or whatever it is, values, it's really not a mess, it's causing me to respond in a different way. And without making that mess, I would have maybe not have done this. There it is, right there, I think. And it's very transparent, this paper. It's the deli wrap. It's so delicate. So if you have not checked out the Facebook group, please do. Just ask to join and I'll let you in. If you have an image, if you have joined other Facebook groups and have, some sort of record as to, an interest in this kind of thing, of course. I've had a few other interesting requests, but nope. So we have to be careful. But the group is great. Every week there's more sharing. And we're going to do a monthly focus. So a Facebook Live is coming up, I do believe tomorrow. I know I didn't leave a lot of notice, but it's out there. I put the message out there with a question, anything you want to focus on or want me to demo, put it in that latest post, and I'll see the most popular ones, and I will see what I can do about those questions. And that's what we will focus on for February, the month of February. All right. So, a great spot to do that. When you have an area of really high contrast, that's a good spot to put a transparent, and you don't have to, use the whole thing. It just really looks cool. I'm really liking that. And as we gain more knowledge in this process, maybe intuitively, not planned, oh yeah, this stuff's really cool too. This is this rice paper. I also ordered that from Amazon. See how it's partly transparent, so it's just translucent. You can see a little bit of that area underneath. And I just used the fan brush with some watered down black acrylic just to get my black and white. So, that one fits there really interestingly. Sometimes these collages can be like puzzles too. They connect, and so all of that orange or yellow is going to disappear and change the focus or the focal point of this piece. And I still can't make up my mind. That is funny. Okay, didn't make it. All right then. Let's do another piece. And it tears so nicely. Okay. There was not enough marks on that piece. That's why I chose not to put it there. So, oh. So I chose to take away some of the white. And of course, that was alcohol, 70% isopropyl alcohol. It is fantastic to use. I use it on canvas and my wood panel. I know something, you see, I know something has to go there. I'm just not finding it. And when you approach this type of thing going on, it might mean, okay, so I decided to cover it up. It was just too, I don't know, the edge. I have to fix that edge there. I want, that one seems to, yes, it needs to fit. And then what happened is another, so bringing in that crisper edge next to the white, so there's a high contrast. The eye stays there, of course, it's not going to change. Now, all of that mess looks really cool because it has, the edge. I finished it with the black. And so when it comes to this point and things are really slowing down, this is when I let it rest and see it with fresh eyes the next day. And again, we're seeing where we started and where we finished off. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.